Welcome back to Figs Talks Fights. I'm Brian Figueredo. It is UFC 260 fight week. We have one championship fight happening still this card. The Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega fight. If you haven't heard, Alexander Volkanovski tested positive for COVID-19. He's off the card, but we still have what UFC is marketing as the biggest, baddest rematch of all time, and it's hard to argue with them. You have your heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic, rematching Francis Ngannou, and this has been a fight about 3 years, a little over 3 years in the making, and it's taking place this Saturday night, so let's get into it, all right? First point want to make here, Stipe Miocic, in the first fight between these two guys that took place in January of 2018, literally beat the brakes off of Francis Ngannou, okay? And Francis Ngannou, if you remember coming into this fight, was fresh off that KO over Alistair Overeem and Andrei Arlovski earlier that year. He was looking on fire. This guy literally has hands of steel. 2 bricks that he's smashing in your face. He can put anybody's lights out. Except on that night, Stipe Miocic was able to take a couple of those shots, rally back. He was the quicker fighter, the slicker fighter, the more well-rounded fighter, the better prepared fighter, and he set the heavyweight record that night for title defenses at 3. Yes, 3 title defenses is a record in the heavyweight division. Can you believe that? That's how tough it is to sustain championship level in that division. When it's one night, anybody can clip you and it's lights out. Shit gets real fast and the belt changes hands a lot in this division. But is it going to change hands on Saturday night? Well, according to the Vegas odds makers, yes. Because Francis Ngannou is the betting favorite. I don't think by a large mile. I think he's minus 180 and Stipe is about plus 135, okay? It's as close to as even, but if you're leaning towards Francis, I mean, I don't blame you, but let's talk about this. Since these two guys have met, these careers have gone in complete different directions, okay? First of all, let's get into Stipe Miocic. After this fight, it was also the night that Daniel Cormier took on Volkan Oezdemir, all right? And this was after John Jones and him had their own fight at UFC 241, and John Jones tested positive. But anyhow, moving back to this, right back onto this. Daniel Cormier won his fight that night, and Stipe Miocic won his fight that night. They set him up for Coaches on the Ultimate Fighter. It was the 4th of July weekend, International Fight Week in July, where Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier fought for the first time in 2018 that year. And Daniel Cormier gets a first-round knockout against Stipe, okay? On the same night, you had Francis Ngannou taking on Derek Lewis in probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen. These guys literally just stared at each other, and Derek Lewis won the fight by maybe throwing 2 more punches. Both these guys look not so good that night, okay? They look like shit, okay? I'm trying to be nice here. They look like shit. I'm going to cut the nice guy shit, okay? A lot of people were thinking, after a beating that Miocic delivered on Francis Ngannou just 6 months prior, maybe that was it for him. Could he come back from that? Now, Stipe Miocic, like I just mentioned, got knocked out by Daniel Cormier that night. What happened to these two guys? Well, let's move on forward. After that, Francis Ngannou had a ton of pressure on him, and bam, since then, that 15-minute dreaded staring contest affair that took place that night in July of 2018, he has fought 162 seconds. In the last 2.5 years, Francis Ngannou has taken on 4 opponents and fought 162 seconds. He looks incredible. He's literally shutting everybody's lights out. From Derek Lewis, Junior Dos Santos, most recently Jairzinho Rosenstrike, okay? And it's by heavy hands, not by perfect boxing technique, setting up angles, setting up shots. It's literally by him just blasting forward. Even the Jairzinho Rosenstrike, if you go back and look at the highlight of that fight, which you might as well watch the whole fight, I think it's 20 seconds long. If you look at it from the top angle, Francis Ngannou's feet were out of line for every punch. Punches were swinging all the way back here. Didn't matter. If this guy gets his hands on you, it's lights out. You're going to sleep. It's a scary opponent to have in front of you, okay? Since that night in, going back to Stipe Miocic now, since that night in July of 2018, he's faced Daniel Cormier. That's it. In fact, since he's faced Francis Ngannou, it's been the Daniel Cormier trilogy for Stipe Miocic. Now, the second fight that Stipe Miocic had with Daniel Cormier that took place in August of 2019 was an incredible war between these two guys, and it looked like Daniel Cormier was running away with it. He won the first round, had a chance to put Stipe on his back, got a beautiful takedown. If you want to know how he set that up, please check this channel out. I did a little preview for it in their before their third fight. But anyhow, okay, Stipe Miocic was getting beat up a little bit in the second round. Daniel Cormier was getting the better of the hands. But somewhere at the end of the third round, Stipe Miocic started to find his range and just started to touch the body just a little bit. Well, that was some sort of a signal in his head, because in the third or in the fourth round of their fight, Stipe Miocic literally landed 13 body shots right on the right side of Daniel Cormier, smacking that liver around, hitting the kidneys, okay? And then all of a sudden, Cormier's hands started to drop, started to get hurt, leaned back against the fence. Stipe Miocic smelled blood like a shark in water, went after him on a combination against the fence. Boom, 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 straight right. Daniel Cormier falls to his ass. One for good measure, the fight is stopped. These guys then rematched again for the final time just this past summer, okay? And I believe that was, what, UFC 252? Correct me if I'm wrong. But, yeah, in their trilogy fight, it was a little bit more competitive, but I mean, Daniel Cormier abandoned the wrestling. Did he abandon the wrestling because he couldn't take Stipe down? His skills weren't there. He was worried about getting tired. Or was Stipe just putting on a great fight against Cormier? Look, might have been a little bit of both, but clearly out of these two gentlemen in their three fights, Stipe Miocic did prove to be the better fighter, and therefore not only getting his heavyweight title, but defending it for the first time on his second title reign against Daniel Cormier, getting a unanimous decision back in August 2020. Now, Francis Ngannou hasn't fought since UFC 249 in Jacksonville, Florida of the beginning of May in 2020, okay? It was the first show that they had back with the pandemic, okay? It is very hard to tell you how these two guys match up because we haven't seen anything from Francis that we didn't see before their first fight. He's blasting guys. He's knocking them out. His coach and his team are telling us he's got a great ground game. Just wait until you see him scramble. He can wrestle. He can submit guys. If he gets on top of you, it's trouble. Look, I'd love to take them for their word for it, but I mean, people lie in this game all the time. Coach, even if they know their fighter's going in with a massive hindering injury, they'll never admit it before the fight. It would be stupid. They'd be giving away their strategy, and they're always going to hype their own guys. Okay? And I know a lot of people clearly are picking Ngannou for this rematch taking place this Saturday, specifically because of the run he's been on since that awful Derek Lewis fight, and only fighting 162 seconds. It's hard to bet against a guy that gets in, lands his shots, and gets the hell out. I mean, I think only one of those fights, I think it was against Junior Dos Santos, did it go in or past the second or the first minute. Sorry. I think that one was 71 seconds. Congratulations, JDS. You made it 11 seconds over a minute with, Francis Ngannou post-November 2018. Stipe, on the other hand, I mean, this guy's showing heart. He's showing adversity. He's taken some big shots from Cormier. Cormier, you did see in their second fight, and again, a little bit in the third, didn't have much of an opportunity because Stipe stopped him. But when Stipe got knocked out in the first fight against Daniel Cormier. It was breaking off the clinch, getting a little bit lazy. If Stipe's head was right here and Cormier had the underhook here, as soon as they broke off, Cormier just went right over the top. So from another perspective, Stipe was here, Cormier's head was here, breaks the clinch, a little lax, and then poof, that right hand caught him clean on the jaw, okay? Couldn't put him out. Daniel Cormier couldn't put out Stipe the next 2 times they fought, even trying to do the same setup. Now, other suspicions have also said that, look, Stipe did take some big shots from Francis Ngannou in their fight. He survived them, but maybe that hurt his chin a little bit. Little bit chinny coming into the Cormier fight the first time. These are stuff that, or things that we'll never know. It's all speculation, but it's something to think about. Going into this fight, I actually think Stipe Miocic is going to do it again, okay? He is by far the faster guy. I think he's got far better head movement. Francis Ngannou, you saw him even using head movement in the Alistair Overeem fight, okay, which was, what, December 2017? But even then, he was very stiff, very, like, nothing smooth, nothing relaxed. Head just moving back and forth. You could tell he wanted to do the movement correctly, but he's still not as fluid, okay? And like I said, go back and watch that Rosenstrike fight. He's not very fluid even with his punches. It's just raw aggression. Look, if that's the tools that he has in his toolbox to come to this rematch on Saturday night, it could be a bad night for Ngannou. In fact, I'm anticipating it. I think Stipe's going to start off. He's going to take the center of the cage and then slowly start to put pressure in and then try to make Ngannou follow him and follow him either into a big shot, as in a right hand or a hook, something like that, or he's going to catch him swinging wild, how he did in the Rosenstrike fight, changed levels and put him on his ass again. Stipe was able to repeatedly take down Francis Ngannou in that fight. Is he working with high-level wrestlers or anything like that over at Extreme Couture? I mean, they do have high-level guys there, but I haven't really heard too much about, you know, these kind of large, well-known guys that are going to put it on Francis in training. I've seen Teddy Atlas has been out there to train with him, and Teddy Atlas, I saw, had a good point. Francis Ngannou stands up really tall for a lot of his shots. I mean, he's just a naturally big, strong guy. He's literally throwing sledgehammers, but his technique, I mean, who the hell am I to shit on Francis Ngannou's technique, okay? Well, I'm the guy you're watching on this damn video, and I'm telling you, from what the hell my amateur ass eyes are seeing, he's not very fluid at all. He needs to sit down a little bit more, relax in those shots that he's throwing. This is a 25-minute fight as well. This is a long time to be fighting. I don't think enough fans appreciate the stamina and the condition that these athletes have to go through, especially at the heavyweight division. Now, Francis looks a lot leaner than how he was in the first fight, so maybe he is prepared for a longer fight. But guess who else looks a lot leaner? Stipe Miocic. Miocic, I believe, weighed in at about 231 pounds for his fight against Daniel Cormier back in August 2020, the third of the trilogy fight. He is looking lean as hell, quick as hell, and I expect Stipe is going to come out, like I said, take the center, make Francis chase him, pick him apart on the long end, try to evade those big bombs, and either TKO him later in the fight, grind out a decision, or Stipe could very well catch him clean on the chin and put his ass out too. Now, would it surprise me in any way, shape, or form if you see Francis Ngannou come in and cleans up the house in 12 seconds? Hell no. That won't surprise me at all. But I think that's his only route to victory. What would surprise me is if you see Francis Ngannou shoot on Stipe, take him down, or Francis Ngannou try to pin up Stipe against the cage, try to make him carry his weight, suck the wind out of him with some body shots. But I don't think that's going to be the strategy. I think that's what Stipe is going to do to Francis. So we'll have to see. We're going to find out, aren't we? So look, if you enjoyed the content here today, subscribe to the channel. So damn close to 100 subscribers. What does 100 subscribers mean? pretty much fuck all, but it's a nice round number. Why the hell not? Hit the button. If you liked what I had here to say, come back again, and until next time,